Hello everybody, we have a game against Saucer TV, rated 800, and maybe we can get our first Ruy Lopez, and we do. Starting with Bishop to B5, attacking the knight. We did it, guys. Only took like 6 games. He plays D6, opening up the bishop's diagonal. Fair enough. It protects the pawn. We could just castle. You could play D4. What do we want to do? I'm not a big fan of the immediate castle in any position. I mean, it's a good thing for beginners, but call me crazy, but I'm going to play D4 immediately. He takes in the center. We can recapture with the knight or the queen because the knight's pinned. If we recapture with the queen and he breaks the pin, we have to take the knight or move the queen, but if we take with the knight, he's still probably gonna move the bishop. I mean, it's all just normal stuff. Let's take with the queen and just see how they respond, develop a new piece. Okay, so he breaks the pin. Now my queen is under attack. Doesn't mean I need to take this automatically, though. Imagine a move like this. This. Check here, 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 here. Okay, the other line is this. This. Check here. I mean, it's all playable. Let's just take the knight and see what happens. Let's play a game where we give up the bishop, don't move the queen, and see where it goes. Okay, so he's hitting this once. It's more than defended. I say, I mean, we could bring a knight out. There's also the Maraxi bind setup, but let's do something normal. Bring out our second knight towards the center. I like our position. He develops his knight, a second attacker on the center. That makes sense. But it's defended twice, so you could develop your bishop, but I mean, I could develop my bishop in long castle, or I could just short castle now. I'm leaning towards short castle right now for whatever reason. His king's right here. Now his queen's right here. What is that? Okay, so my instinct is just throw a rook here. He's attacking it 3 times. Let's defend it 3 times. I wanted my rook here anyway. Now it's theirs at 2. Both of the royal family. Oh, that can't be good. So he goes here thinking that I can't open it up because my rook's undefended because I didn't move my bishop. But my rook is defended by the knight backwards. So now when I take this pawn, I hit his bishop and his queen and his king behind that. It's a terrible move. Even if I couldn't, pushing past would be good for me. So everything's good for me. Let's just open this up because we have this defense. And the game is over. Our first Ruy Lopez win. I don't know at what move it went out of theory, but we got at least the first 3 moves in. Okay, so he tries to block the vision between the rook and the queen, but we can just take the knight and the queen's still hanging. So he loses everything. He takes, what did he take? He takes a pawn, but we take a queen. He takes a rook, but we take a bishop. He castles, we take another bishop with check. And then we'll just checkmate this guy by going here, threatening mate in 1. And mate in 1, countering his checkmate. So that was just a very quick, easy game. Some Ruy Lopez, but then I don't know. I don't know at what point. This is still master's database. Master's database. Okay, we still have games. Okay, so this is it. This is a thing. So when he plays d6, this is the Steinitz defense. And now this is a blunder. So everything was theory up until here. And then he's supposed to bring his bishop out in castle. The second he goes queen here, he goes out of theory and blunders the game. Yeah, because it's already +2 with rook e1. Okay, so that's an all zeros, 98% game. But I'm thinking we get another one. So we have another game against Alex, rated 778. No Ruy Lopez, but we can play d4, and some people have trouble against the French, so now we can play against it. We can gain space in the center with the advanced variation. And black immediately blocks his c pawn, which is not a good idea unless you're going to immediately play f6. But he puts some pressure on the pawn. It doesn't matter. I'm just going to develop. Is he going to play f6? We'll find out. He does not. He develops his knight to the side, offering a trade. But I just like to complete my development. Where do I want my light squared bishop? This knight is weird. I wonder in what circumstances you want to play c4. Well, let's just play a waiting move. We'll play c3. It solidifies our pawn chain and takes away the square from his pieces, so he's kind of hard pressed for space, and he can't play c5 because of his knight. So we're just taking advantage of his awkward piece placement. He moves his knight to f5. One day we can maybe play g4 when it's trapped, like bishop here h6, something like that. But for right now, we don't need to do that. We can probably just develop our bishop to the center. Makes sense. See what black does. He does do the passive move, and remember what I said about h6, right? You'd be surprised, because they don't want to walk into some type of Greek gift sacrifice. So to avoid that, you would play h6, but then that creates different problems here because of his lack of space. So he develops the bishop, which doesn't threaten anything. He can maybe go for a trade at some point. So we want him to castle. Okay, let's just castle ourselves. You could have kept the rook behind the h-pawn as well. Maybe in the future launched it up the board, but we can still launch it up the board without the rook if necessary. But I kind of want to entice him to castle. I feel like if we castle, which is a very reasonable move, he's more likely to castle, thinking it's safe, which is what happens. But the problem with castling under the French is you just might outright lose in the advanced variation, so you have to be careful. See, now if we kick the knight, even if it's not trapped, let's say it had to go to h6, you can ruin the structure in front of the king. But it does have h4 because there's a lot of dark square support. And with this dark square support, you really don't also have the Greek gift the way you would want it. So maybe a little more preparation. If you take this knight, you do mess up his pawns in a weird way. It's a bit odd. Not sure how much you gain though. going to make a developing move that I know I want to make anyway and support the e5 point. He makes a move that's likely a waste of time and doesn't do much. And moving the rook evacuates the f1 square, so I can transfer my worst piece, which is my queen's knight, to that square and help in maybe a kingside attack. So that's where my mind's at. The rook here secures the e5 point. Let's develop a piece and shuffle it over. Okay, he's going on escapades on this side of the board. Maybe he wants to play here, probably. If I take one move to play a3, that requires him to make two moves to counter it. So it's weird, but it works. So I play a3, he plays a5, and the reason it takes two moves for him to reset up b4 is because if he just does what he did in the game, thinking, oh, you go a3, I'll go a5, and we're in the same situation. It's like, no, because if I go a3, you can't go a5 until you defend the b pawn. So you have to waste a move, and that's why it takes two moves. You have to do the defense move and the a5 move before you can push again. And so even though it's like, oh, you don't want to push on the side where you're weaker, a lot of times when you're defending, even though this isn't your king, it also applies to the king when they're attacking. Sometimes you do push that pawn because it slows down their attack by 2 tempi. So it's weird, but it's kind of important to know. But in this case, it hangs the pawn. So now he loses whatever he was going for. His knight's hanging, and the game is over at this point. It's good to know exactly at what point you have your win condition, at what point the game's over. Because you kind of need an internal evaluation, your own engine inside your head. That way you know you have a guidance system for making decisions. Okay, so he protects the knight by pinning it. We can add further pressure. He can defend. Because he can defend, I don't really feel like adding further pressure. So I'm just going to improve this knight because it's in the way of everything. It can't go forward this way, so let's reroute it. Okay, he attacks the bishop. You can secure it with the pawn. Perfectly reasonable. But I still want to aim at his king. I don't really care about his queen side. So I'm going to bring it back to its original diagonal up my clean pawn. And now he has no pawn break here that he was going for because the pawn's missing. So his pawn breaks are, as usual, c5 and f6. The normal French pawn breaks. Now I'm up a pawn and his bishop is stuck behind his chain. I can organize an attack on the queen side. The queen is no longer on the dark square battery, so there's less support for him. He goes here. Maybe he's going to try to stick a piece in here, but I don't even care. He can do it. Also, this pawn is hanging, so I can get another pawn. I want to attack this guy's king, but he just keeps hanging stuff, so he keeps luring me to the queen side to take his stuff. Now if he goes for his knight plan, the knight hangs, so. And my intention, well, at this point I might as well go to c2 to create a battery. You could also go back home. I want to get it back towards the king, aiming at the king. And now I have more win conditions. You know, I have 2 outside pass pawns connected. And so that's easily worth a piece. So if he can sack his knight, let's say, and take both of these pawns successfully, that might be worth it for him. Okay, he finally plays pawn break f6, but at this point it's too late. And it doesn't work or do anything. He's overloaded in the sense that the queen defends the knight, the queen defends the bishop, the knight defends the bishop. But I can mess all that up. I can take the knight, which defends the bishop. He has to take because otherwise you're down a piece. Kicking the queen doesn't... He can still stay in touch with the knight. Do we have a cool move there? Our knight's dominated in that position, so... I mean, bishop f4 is good, but it's not cool. Otherwise, if we take, he can remove the piece. Hold on, let's go back. He played f6. I took a knight. He took a bishop. Okay, everything's still status quo. I guess I should just develop. Because he's still overloaded if I don't touch anything. Like, I don't want to take this and help him, because if he takes either way, I don't win material. Here, bishop takes, because rook takes knight e5, but bishop takes. I really don't have the cool move there, so let's just bring the knight out, attack the pawn, which again the queen can be overloaded. It can't defend everything. Taking is terrible for him because the knight takes. He goes rook here, maybe to go here would be my guess. But now when I kick the queen in this line, I can follow up with the knight capture. So let's go here because we want his pieces to be blocked by his own pawns. It is true that it blocks my knight, but my knight is 3 and these two are 8. Plus it's a wedge pawn that can block even more, you know, because it just prevents all of his pieces from using these squares. He moves his queen up, which is a much more vulnerable position. So we said we were going to take this. This happens to hit the queen. I don't think it blunders anything. And the queen can't stay in contact with the knight anymore. He had to have gone back. Now we just have an overwhelming position where he loses more material. And this wedge pawn is secure and doing a ton of damage. The situation's made all the worse by this f6 pawn, blockaded by a knight. So he goes back with the queen, which hangs a piece. We can now take more material if we wanted. We're up 6 points of material, 3 pawns and 1 minor piece. With full control over the central files. He attacks our rook, but I'm going to intermezzo the knight capture to lure the queen away from the d file, because I have to move the queen anyway and I might as well get the central pawn. So that's why I included that 2-move sequence. This pawn is currently hanging, but as I'm up 7 points of material, trades are wins for us. He takes with the rook. I happily trade. He takes with the bishop, blocking his queen, but for the time being I have to move my queen. As I'm up so much material and I do want the turn back so I can develop my bishop and get my rook in the game, I'm going to go to this queen trade square. So it doesn't matter if he ruins our pawn structure, right? At this point in the game, that's not relevant. So that's why we can go here and it's create a forcing move to get the turn back. Otherwise, you would just move your queen and he can develop, double stack. Not that that matters, you're winning no matter what, but you see where I'm getting at with my trying to play a more accurate way. Or a more easier to convert way. Okay, so we can get the queen trade. And now the only thing he has is a rook here, which we can contest easily. Bishop here, rook to the file, support. Important to notice that it's supported by the knight, so you don't hang back rank mate. And that's why the knight is the king's best defender. It really plays an important role in defending key squares. So he moves his bishop around, but we get the trade that we're looking for. We have 0 weaknesses. His bishop can't even target the stuff because it's on dark. If he moves his rook, he gives up full control over the file, which would be even worse. But when you're down that much material, you have to make worse decisions, which, for practicality's sake. So we can just throw in this check. I don't know why I did that, but I'm just going to go back. So now I'm going to start thinking. Okay, so our knight's dominated here. Let's reroute it. This is a great outpost, but I just took that square away from my knight. So this bishop is great on this diagonal. I'm thinking we can play h4 to secure the bishop. That way when he attacks it, we can just retreat. Okay, he attacks our center, but this helps us. So I hope he takes, right? So I can relocate my knight in one move onto an outpost. He doesn't take, so I'm going to relocate my knight with tempo this way. He goes in, and I'm going to take the free pawn at this point. My knight's defended backwards. And now we have a 4-on-0 connected pawn mass, which is wild. So he attacks our bishop and we take, and we want to stay in contact with the knight so we don't hang it. That's why we move here. He might try to attack us, but not only does that hang the pawn, but we also can just play g3 and stop it. So now we just have this pawn mass that's unstoppable, and I mean, it's not realistic that he's going to be able to do anything. So he does hang the pawn, and I have 20 seconds, so I need to stop talking. Hit the rook. Hit the rook on an outpost. This will be an outpost. Get my rook. Let's hit the rook again. I'm running out of time. I almost pre-moved that, and he moved his king over to the side. Exactly out of the square I was about to pre-move. Can't make that up. However, the knight's defended by the bishop, and the knight defends the queening square, so that's interesting. But he's just going to take it with the bishop. Instead of winning a piece... Oh, I could have taken the bishop. I'll do it next. Check. Take the rook, so I don't... He can't rook, you know, pre-move rook moves and burn me on the clock. I can just do this. Oh, he didn't take. Okay. Yikes. Whew. All I need to checkmate you is 2 queens, a rook, a bishop, and 4 pawns. Oh, man. Okay, so... Rematch offer canceled. So what did we get? Oh, yeah. We played a French. Pretty long French game. From a 700. You know, not bad. And he played weird moves, but... No knockout blow immediately. Even here, the game just started. It says we're +1. So that's wild. But there are some master games here, so I guess it's playable overall. But you still don't want to start out a game when your opponent's +1. We have 95% accuracy, and um, we'll start looking at the games more when, you know, theory comes in. But for the time being, we'll try to keep squeezing in 2 or 3 games. Good luck in your chest, and I'll see you in the next one.